Hello and good evening. It's now 19:05. I'm Luke Addison.
And I'm Nikki Scott.
And welcome to togetherTalks.
We were blown away last time by our talk with Daniel Flynn, an incredible man who's making huge waves in the consumer industry, challenging the way we spend money and the products that we buy, all in an impressive attempt to challenge and eradicate global poverty.
It really was brilliant, and Daniel is an incredible guy. If you missed the talk, don't forget that you can catch up with it and all our other talks from this series on our YouTube channel by searching Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland, togetherTalks. And now, a subject and an organization that's very close to my heart. PeaceJam is a global peace education organization that works with young people and Nobel Peace laureates. I was first introduced to PeaceJam in 2014 when I was invited to mentor at a conference in Monaco alongside Desmond Tutu and hundreds of young people. We then set up a PeaceJam at my university in Winchester, which is still running today. And now I work as the conference coordinator for PeaceJam Europe.
Wow, Luke, what a lovely opportunity to meet Desmond Tutu. Good for you. That's fantastic. And tonight we're going to meet Lauren Coffaro, who is PeaceJam's Director of Global Programs, and also Wisdom Addo, who's the Executive Director of the West Africa Center for Peace Foundation, and he also runs PeaceJam in Ghana. Busy people, I think these are. Lauren completed a Rotary Global Peace Scholarship at the Peace Center in the University of Bradford here in the UK, and Wisdom is currently in the middle of his Peace Scholarship all the way over in Tokyo, Japan. So we have lots to get through tonight. Let's take a look at Lauren and Wisdom's introductory videos.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Coffaro and I am the Director of Global Programs at the PeaceJam Foundation. And I'm joining you from beautiful Denver, Colorado, where usually we have 300 days of sunshine a year, but as you can see, it's actually smoky today because we have been suffering from wildfires in the state and across the western part of the US. But I'm actually no stranger to cloudy days because I lived in the UK for a year and a half studying for my master's in peace studies at the University of Bradford as a Rotary Peace Fellow. And my background with Rotary goes way back to when I was an undergrad in Chicago more than 10 years ago and a member of Rotaract for over a decade following that. So Rotary has a huge place in my heart and it's been a huge part of my journey as a professional in the peace education field. I am so thrilled to be able to join you for Together Talks on December 15th with my colleague Wisdom Addo from Ghana, and I hope to see you there.
Hi everyone, thank you for inviting me to be part of the Together Talks series. So I became part of PeaceJam in 2008 when I was just searching online how I could bring peace education to young people in Ghana, and I happened to see PeaceJam and start corresponding, and that is how this whole PeaceJam movement started in Africa. So I'm in one of the Rotary Peace Centers in Japan. This our campus, very beautiful environment. And mostly when I'm free, I come to the library, which is far behind me over there, to read and make research for my academics. The campus is so beautiful, very nice, like you can see for yourself, like nice environment. COVID has made everybody inside, but like it's cool. Like now we are able to visit the library and then have a feel of the campus. Mostly, yeah, I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion, and thank you for allowing me into your space.
Well, that was lovely to get a sense of where Lauren and Wisdom are going to be zooming in from. So with no further ado, let's zoom Lauren in from Colorado, USA, and Wisdom all the way from Ghana. Please join us. That's great. And you're going to need to, yeah, there we go. Well, it's lovely to see you both. And thank you for joining us. I know we've gone back a long way, Lauren. It's lovely to bring you back to the English shores here and Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland. And Wisdom, it's a pleasure to meet you. We have so much to get through tonight. So with no further ado, I'd like to offer you both our Together Talks soapbox. So please take it away.
Thank you. Wisdom.
So thank you all for this inviting us into your space. How I started PeaceJam in Ghana, I realized that the environment in which young people grow makes them or makes them. Growing up, I only hear from politicians and leaders that says that, oh, the youth are the future leaders of our country. The youth are the future leaders of our country. But there's nothing like an investment. There's no program that allows them or prepares them for that kind of future leadership or allowing them to assume that kind of position. I realize that is a huge gap that is between young people and then our leaders. So how do I bring PeaceJam, or how do I bring a program that will propel or that will transform young people or prepare young people to assume that kind of leadership? So I have to go online every day. I go online as an internet cafe attendant and I search peace organization. A lot of them doesn't respond until I'm able to get PeaceJam Foundation. That said, hey, okay, if you want to bring PeaceJam to Ghana, can you go online, do our online training, and then we pick it from there. So I went online, they gave me I did a study, and then they gave me the curriculum, which it is self-explanatory. You don't need to have PhD before you can be able to study. That was my first time of studying something. And I was able to go to one school, started with one school with 40 students. And to the glory, now I have about 5,000 plus young people that have gone through the PeaceJam program. Growing up, I realized that there is nothing like an extracurricular program that allow young people to express themselves. So PeaceJam was the great component or a program that allowed young people to take up that leadership role. And one will ask, why do I choose PeaceJam? Yes, I choose PeaceJam among all the odds because of the story that it inspires young people, it educates, and then you have to act, which is the service learning project. PeaceJam uses the stories of the inspiration of Nobel Peace laureates to educate young people on global issues and encourage them to take up leadership or actions for peace in their community. And that is the main reason why I brought PeaceJam to Ghana. And this program has been transformative, has changed life for young people.
Fantastic.
So similar to Wisdom, I also work for PeaceJam, and also similar to Wisdom, in my past experience, I saw a need for more deliberate peace education for youth. So I saw this when I was a Rotaractor, where we worked to do service projects, both in our community and internationally. And I also saw this in my job in cultural exchange programs, where I was really fortunate to get to travel all over the world and meet young people who were studying and starting out in their careers in many different sectors. And my organization where I worked strongly emphasized community service. But I saw that there were very few universities or workplaces that emphasized service or provided any kind of training or tools for how young people could make a positive impact in their respective careers. Mm-hmm. So I was very fortunate to be able to dedicate a year and a half of my own life to studying and understanding the pillars of peace as a Rotary Peace Fellow. And that program really prepared me to step into the leadership role that I have with PeaceJam now. I work at the global headquarters and I provide support and training for our teams in 15 countries around the world. But what I fundamentally learned from the Peace Fellowship is that in order to take action for peace and to create sustainable change, you have to understand what peace is. And this is a very simple idea, but it's also powerful. And that's what guides the work that PeaceJam does with youth as well. PeaceJam believes in learning through doing and taking action. But you need a foundational knowledge and understanding of the problem and a process in order to do things the right way. We need to deliberately teach peace to young people, to our next generation, in order for them to be able to successfully build it within themselves, within their communities, and in the world. So I'll end by sharing this. Earlier this year, I was speaking to a Rotary Club, and one of the members said it the best way I've heard yet. we are currently facing a triple pandemic. We have COVID-19, we have the climate crisis, and social injustice. Young people are facing these things on top of all of the normal challenges of being a young person. They know that change is needed. They don't need to be convinced. They want to make a change. And honestly, we need their solutions now more than ever. But what they need is the platform, the tools, and the support to make it happen.
Super. So let's get started with some questions. So the first question from myself is, it can be quite easy to talk to people about what PeaceJam is as an organization, but it can be quite difficult to actually explain what PeaceJam does and how we do that. I once spoke at a talk about PeaceJam, and one of the questions was, I thought that I was there selling peach jam, and I realized they'd completely missed what I was talking about, and they hadn't really even grasp what we do. So how do you kind of, in an elevator pitch, explain not only what it is, but what we actually do?
Lauren, why don't you take that one, and then I've got one for wisdom.
Sure. Yeah, so PeaceJam, like Wisdom says, we work with Nobel Peace Prize winners. And these Nobel Peace laureates are amazing role models for young people to show them how one person can make a difference and take action for positive change. And we have curriculum for ages 5 to 25. So we train teachers and we train university students, young professionals, to run PeaceJam programming in their schools or their community groups or as an extracurricular program. So they use activities and lessons from the curriculum to teach young people about global issue areas and how you can take action for sustainable change. So for example, they might study the Dalai Lama, and they might look at the Dalai Lama and say, what was he like as a child? What were the skills, what were the values that he held that helped him to make change and to be a leader for peace when he faced these immense challenges in his life and as a leader? And through those stories, they can also learn. And then we require every young person who is part of the program to actually take that first step for action and design and implement their own community project as part of the program. So we say we're Nobel guided, youth led, because youth are designing and leading the projects, and community engaged. So they're taking action within the place where they live.
Wow, it sounds like the perfect recipe for really making a huge difference. And Wisdom, if I can call on you, and you need to unmute yourself here, can you tell us a story about one of the children that you've actually worked with? I'm sure that your personal story must inspire many of the children, but how about you telling us a story that you've worked with somebody who's inspired you?
So, when I started with PeaceJam with one of these youth, there was this particular young guy, who is so timid, he's shy, he couldn't raise up his hand, he couldn't do anything. And I realized I have to allow him, give him the space to express himself. At a point, this guy couldn't do, to open his mouth to talk, it's really a big challenge for him. And I'm happy to say that with this PeaceJam program, since he has finished the leadership program, he went to the ambassadorial one, and now he's a mentor. And I'm happy to say I still see him around. Now he's a youth leader in their church, and he's now becoming a pastor. And he's one of my inspirations because growing up with this guy, like he growing up and me looking at him to assume this kind of leadership role has really inspired me that, yes, this program has really helped and impacted a lot on a lot of people.
Brilliant. Super. And now on to some of the questions that have been sent in by you, the audience. So we've got a question here from Margaret Hutchinson, very relevant to the situation we find us in right now of COVID and the lifestyle change. She asks, what role can technology play in sustaining world peace?
That is a great question, and it's one we've all had to ask ourselves this year. Our model has always been very hands-on and in person, and it's part of the magic that we saw with young people, especially as tech and cell phones became more ubiquitous in their lives, that we were creating a space where they would put that down and engage in person and in a different kind of way. We've had to translate that online, and we've seen some amazing benefits to it, and also some real challenges. There are ways that through these awesome platforms we have, like Zoom, that we can reach even more youth than we ever did before, using fewer resources. We don't have to have someone fundraise for a year to travel to a conference to meet and talk with a Nobel Peace Laureate. We can bring them together on a webinar or a digital space and really connect. But there's also real challenges, especially around access to technology and access to internet that we've seen all over the world in every country where we work. And it has sparked, I think, more dialogue and recognition that access to technology and internet is a fundamental right, and it's something that a lot of our youth are now advocating for. But it makes some of the populations that were already hard to reach even harder to reach. Then those are the youth we most want to be working with and serving in our program.
Great, and just on that, and maybe Wisdom, you can answer this. Just leading on from that, there was a question from Catherine Wells, who's actually asking, how can we reach and engage young people at risk? So you talk about needing to reach them. What are some of the ways that you actually do?
So some of the ways which I reach out to young people is by getting through the communities of clubs like teachers, because then I'm able to train teachers, and then they send the programs to the young people in their communities. So most of the ways is to bring teachers together, train them on how to use the curriculum, and give them the resources and the tools that they need, and they go back to their community to carry out the project or reach out to a lot of young people in Ghana.
And I have to jump on and commend Wisdom and his team in Ghana, because I think they're one of the best examples we saw across all of our partners in the world of responding to the concerns of the young people who were pretty much isolated due to the COVID-19 pandemic. They jumped into action together, and the youth delivered hand sanitizing wash buckets, face masks, and different equipment to the communities so that they could gather in their schools, gather in their communities, and still have those spaces for learning in a really challenging time.
There must be so many complexities to deal with when you look at different cultures and different regions and different impacts on the people that you're working with, regardless of having to handle the pandemic on top of that. So there's a nice question here from Sritharan Valapuram, and I hope I haven't really made a mess of that. Please, can you provide some tips to transcend cultural barriers when promoting peace? Because I think it must be very different wherever you are.
Yes. Go ahead, Wisdom.
All right. So I went to South Liberia to introduce PeaceJam over there. And I realized that the way they respond to the PeaceJam program is different from us because of 14 years of civil war. So it's like this is kind of a model for them that have never experienced in it. And looking at the way Liberians, because of their culture and then Ghanaian culture, is quite different. So working towards peace, the best thing for us to do is to try to learn about the culture of the other country that you are going, and then you don't have to impose to them, but you have to work with them to be able to transform or to be able to have an impact. And I also like to commend Lauren for that, because when she comes to Africa, she doesn't bring the American cap on her, but she tried to work with us as Africans, see our needs and look at how we work, and she's able to adjust. So I think we are able to identify all those kind of lapses, and we work very well, and there's a lot of transformation among the work that we do, even in different continents or different cultures.
That's fantastic. I think that's one of the reasons why we're such good partners in understanding those and honoring those cultural differences. There's a very good question here from Janine Birtwistle, who says, many Rotarians simply think of peace as the opposite of war and not relevant to them. And I think she's mentioning Rotarians, but I think that's actually true for anyone, whether you're a Rotarian or not. A lot of people think of it as purely the absence of war. What tips can we give on how to change that language and help people understand that it's so much more than just that alone?
I think peace is actually thinking about peace as a framework, not just one pillar of Rotary, but that like peace itself has many, many, many pillars. And there's different frameworks you can use to think about peace. Like if you know the Sustainable Development Goals, there's 16 different goals that are really all the components that make up a peaceful society or a peaceful world if we attained all of these things. If you have a framework and a way to think about what the components of peace are, you can more easily understand it as a holistic concept that really is the umbrella for everything that we do in our work in Rotary. And it's both the umbrella and it's the foundation that we're standing on. And so we need to incorporate like knowledge and understanding and expertise on peace building into any kind of project that we're undertaking in our own community, or if it's in partnership with another organization outside of our community.
Great answers. Back to you, Luke.
Super. Thank you. So we have a question here from David Line. You say that PeaceJam is obviously youth-led and you find opportunities for getting young people to actually lead it. How do you go about assembling these groups of young people in order to start the PeaceJam process? David says that in the past, he's obviously had connections to PeaceJam before. He relied on a single enthusiastic teacher who would take students to the universities for their conferences, but she's no longer at the school. No other teachers will take it up, and it's getting increasingly hard to find young people to lead the PeaceJams there. So what is the process you do to get young people to start leading PeaceJams?
Well, when you come to Ghana, we have the PeaceJam Scholars Club in the university, and we just open it for everybody to participate. And because we have a lot of trainings with them, and they are able to lead the conferences. So we have to ask them to apply. Like you apply, what inspires you to be a mentor? What can you do? And you have a lot of responses from them. So based on that, we see that this person has the potential, and we give them the space to lead. And we have most of them also coming up to help in the offices. They go back to the schools to help the teachers train young people. So they are not just in their various universities, but they also help in the community, and then they also help in the various schools where the PeaceJam programs have been implemented. Now, during the COVID time, it is the youth that led. I wasn't here in Ghana, but it is the mentors who came together, and then they are able to distribute. Even though it's COVID time, PeaceJam, we have fun whilst learning. So even though it's COVID time, there's kind of activity that brings smile or joy to young people. So I have all of them like leading all those projects, like by helping them or staying back and then guiding them through.
Great. And Lauren, did you want to add anything about how PeaceJam youth around the world kind of mobilized?
Yeah, I will piggyback off that and say, we have to figure out how to meet youth where they are. And where are they? We used to always go traditionally through teachers and schools and ask them to get the youth involved and educate the teachers to loop in the youth. But that model still exists, but it's kind of been turned on its head. And young people, because of their access to technology, more and more want to connect directly. They don't want a gatekeeper. They don't want to have to convince their teacher or their school to sign on to a program or an initiative for them to join it. They want to be able to go online and easily join it themselves. And so we've had to think about different kinds of places, groups, community organizations, figure out where the young people are excited to engage in their free time and meet them there. And part of PeaceJam's model is being really flexible in how you implement the program and adapt the curriculum. And so we actually have, for example, places of worship that might run PeaceJam, or a Rotaract club that it's a part of the work that they're doing within their club. And so because we have a model that can adapt to a lot of different situations, it's easier to meet the youth where they are. But I think that applies to any kind of peace education initiative you might be taking on.
Yeah, Lauren, you mentioned earlier that PeaceJam is youth-led, and there's a good question here about how do you select the mentors? How do you determine and how do you train the mentors to do the work for you? And I think it's just so underestimated sometimes how brilliant some of our younger leaders can be. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in PeaceJam, we try to be truly youth-led at every level. And that's treating youth as like partners in the peace building process, but also training them to lead the process themselves. So we work with university age students and young professionals, and we have actually a certification program that teaches them how to be facilitators. So in our events or in a lot of our programming, there's a near peer mentorship model where university and young professional youth are the ones who are leading dialogue, leading program, and leading the process with younger youth who are in secondary school. How do we get them to engage? I think there's something that's different and attractive to every young person who gets involved, whether that is facilitation training, whether it's the opportunity to meet a Nobel Peace Prize winner, whether it's because they want to know better themselves how to make sustainable change, and they're interested in the service component. But we have young people from so many different backgrounds studying in many different fields who come together because they're interested in this opportunity to be a mentor to younger aged youth. And that's really powerful because we not only have the role models of a Nobel Peace Laureate who's way up here, who is this elder who achieved amazing things, but we also have the models of, the university student who grew up down the street from you, who is only 3 years older and also doing something that, to a 16-year-old is absolutely incredible. And I think, we believe that there's mentors at every level that are important.
Well, I'm so glad. Recognition. Does peace require recognition that others have a right? Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you back.
Does peace require recognition that others have a right to exist and hold different views to yours? How do we find a way of getting young people to engage with older generations and enjoy each other's company? That goes back to that magic of mixing generations. You want to talk to that, Wisdom?
Well, the best way to get older generation working with young people is for older generations to accept young people's view. Because I live in a culture that supposedly everything that the elder person says is correct, and then the younger person doesn't have any right to speak when an elderly person is speaking. So the best way is for your older people to know that, oh, okay, can I get the perspective or the view of young people? And then when they are able to, when an elderly person or the older generation accept the view of the young people, then there will be some kind of peace that we are seeking for. I think Lauren can also add up.
So, Wisdom, we know that you're in the middle of your your Peace Scholar program in Tokyo right now, and I can't imagine how different a culture that must be for you to experience. And we've talked about the impact of culture, and Wolfgang Turk here is actually saying, how do you deal with language barriers in non-English speaking regions in your work, and perhaps you could just expand on your experience a little bit of just heading to Japan.
I think with the help of the technology, it's really difficult, but technology has made it very simple. And thanks to Rotary, because when we got to the programming, we have 1 month full language training in Japanese. And then, so we have this technology translator that when I'm going to the grocery store to get something, I just type it and then it translates to Japanese, and then I just show the phone to whoever that is there, and then he look at me, oh, okay, and then I get. But I think it's quite interesting with language barrier and like cultural differences, like the way Africans or an African behaving in Japanese culture. But technology has made it easy, and like you can go anywhere with Google Maps without having any problem. And you have people that are supporting, like Japanese are willing to help you, give you direction, wherever you are going. They stop everything. Like that's one thing that I've seen that, wow, how could I go somewhere and I get missing and I ask somebody and they will stop whatever they are doing and take me to where I am going and then walk back to what they were doing. So yeah, technology has made it simple.
Good answer.
Super. And then just to you, Lauren, again, sort of touching on the scholarship, we've got a question here from Eve Conway, just asking, what was it like to receive the Rotary Peace Fellowship, and how has it changed you as a person?
Well, I mean, it completely changed my life, because I was able to, at this stage where I was already 5 years into my career, take a big step back. And I like to say that I went into the Peace Fellowship thinking that I was going to hone in, that a master's degree is about getting super specific expertise in the area where you were working. But really what it allowed me to do is zoom out and take this bird's eye view of the whole field. I was working in cultural diplomacy. It was just this narrow area, and I was able to look at all of the things going on in peace that were related. And that's how I stumbled into the world of peace education, which is really quite expansive and huge. And, you know, spend a year and a half to just think about those concepts, to understand why we do the work we do, and to be able to apply it. There's an applied field experience component of the Rotary Peace Fellowship, where you get to go anywhere you want in the world, as long as it's not your home country, to do work or research in that area. And I went to Guatemala. I worked with Rigoberta Menchú, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, in Mayan indigenous rights activist. And I worked with her team on helping them implement PeaceJam. And it led to where I am now. It's been a ripple of, over the years, growing into this really dream role that I have now, and getting to live my passions, working with youth and working with our teams all over the world to change lives. And that was thanks to this big opportunity I got from Rotary.
Goosebumps. I just got goosebumps.
So just, I mean, again, similarly on the same sort of track, it may be your answer to this question already, Lauren, but we're not really allowed to have favorites. So obviously we won't tell anyone what you say, but do you have a favorite laureate, and do you have a kind of story to share of a personal experience that you've had with that laureate?
Yes, I don't have favorites, because I love so many of our beautiful Nobel Peace Prize winners. But I think I will, the person who I've spent the most time with is Rigoberta Menchú. And she has also, as a person, changed my life by really helping me to expand and open my worldview. The Mayan beliefs are so beautiful, and she shares her background, her culture, and her knowledge of the world so generously. And there are a lot of things that she teaches to all of our youth, and you know, truths that she sees in the world that she has shared with me over the years that have allowed me to, you know, challenge the way I think and to expand my view of the world also. And I'm just really grateful from my heart to her for sharing her knowledge and wisdom in that way.
Amazing.
And Wisdom, same question to you.
I'm not sure I have. I spent quite time with Gbowee because she was with me in Ghana. Like, we spent most of the time, and she has been an inspiration to me with the way she go about her work and her speeches, and she descending to a level of like young people, trying to inspire young people. And I think it's one of those things, looking at when Liberia was in conflict, she came to Ghana, and she's more of a Ghanaian and then a Liberian. So working with her has been one of a good or source of inspiration for me. And I kind of like all the laureates. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so unfortunately, as we said would happen, we've almost blinked and we're out of time. So thank you to both of you. It's been so fascinating. And obviously both me and Nikki, we do know you, at least Lauren, I know both of you very well, but there was a lot there that we didn't know. I certainly didn't know. And it was really interesting to hear that and touch on those things. The road to peace is not an easy one, but there will be no doubt that you've inspired lots of people tonight to take action themselves, maybe even connect with PeaceJam, or maybe even look at applying to Rotary Peace Fellowships. But to help them on their way and to get us all thinking about some solutions, can I please ask you to share your 4 key takeaways that you want us to act on?
So I think the best way for peace is for us, or Rotarians and non-Rotarians, to deliberately prepare young people to assume leadership role, which is one of the takeaway. The second, it's for Rotarians and non-Rotarians to be a mentor to young people. Since PeaceJam relies on Nobel Peace laureates and young people see them as their role model, a Rotarian or non-Rotarian can pick a youth to be a mentor. Most of these young people are looking for somebody to inspire them. Just wake up, check up on them. Hey, how are you doing? Have you done your homework? What is happening in your world? How is your community doing? What are you doing to contribute to the quota of this world, to make this world a better place? And I think most of the young people are just looking for those kind of talk or inspiration from elderly people. They want to see them as their role model, to be able to make a difference in their lives and their community. In my village last week, I was talking to young footballers, and I was just inspiring them, hey, try and go to school. If you want to be like the president, or you want to be this, the best way for you is to accept and just be good to your parents, respect everybody, read a lot, and then be glued to your books. Like, just education should be one of your priority. And they really thanked me. After I was going home, like, one of them walked to me, very young boy, like 7 or 8 years. He walked to me and he said, thank you. And I could feel that joy from that boy. And I realized that small talk or that small speech that I shared with them has really inspired him. And I think all of us are looking for somebody, a mentor, who can just share or inspire us to continue to do something meaningful in our lives, in our community, to make this world a better place.
Wow.
And I'll vouch for Wisdom. He is an amazing mentor, and he's a chief and elder in his village. Everyone really looks up to him there. I will jump on with our other 2 takeaways. One is promoting youth leadership. So encourage youth to take on leadership roles, but more than that, create the roles, create the platforms for youth to take on meaningful leadership positions within your work, within your clubs, in places, you know, where you're engaging, and treat youth as competent partners in the process. So not token engagement, really meaningfully engage young people and treat them as experts and as you know, the future generation, value their contributions. The other piece is being community engaged, being locally engaged. Act locally. So whenever you want to do a project in your community, one of our laureates, Jody Williams, always says, and this is not an original quote, don't reinvent the wheel. What are you doing? Don't reinvent the wheel. Who are the experts who are doing this in your community or in the community that you want to engage in? Ask for their help and do the project with them. And this links back to the question that Wisdom answered before about how do you engage when there's so many different cultures and you know, considerations at play when you're working with a different community. You need to rely on local expertise and work in partnership and build trusting relationships with the partners that you're working with, to, you know, people who understand the local context. And I think that localization is also one of it's a key takeaway of how PeaceJam does its work. It's also a key takeaway of peace studies and the Rotary Peace Fellowship that can help us make change in a sustainable way.
Wow, well, thank you both. I think your advice and your insights and your calls to action are both extremely wise. It's been lovely to get to know a little bit more about both of your personal journeys. I don't know if your mum knew what she was doing really well there, Wisdom, calling you your name, or whether you felt an obligation to live up to it once she had. But either way, you two are extremely inspiring, and please keep on changing the world and empowering our youth. Don't stop for a minute. Thank you. It's been wonderful to have you.
We're so glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you for giving us the space to share. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Bye. Great. So you can learn a little bit more about PeaceJam by visiting www.peacejam.org, where you can learn more about the 14 Nobel Peace Laureates that work with thousands of youth across the globe. And you can check out Wisdom's West African Peace Center at www.wacpfgh.org, or search for West African Center for Peace. You'll find it through that.
I'm sure we barely touched the surface. I can't believe, but that's the last episode of series 2 already, Luke. What an adventure we've had. We started off with the importance of learning where our food comes from Adam Henson. We had Marilyn Fitzgerald talking to us about building communities back better. And Michelle Zaffron, of course, wowed us with his incredible work with the vaccinations and polio. And then our wild adventure with Will Travers and his mother, Virginia McKenna. It's just been an amazing series.
It really has been an amazing few months, touching on everything from polio, as you said, to consumerism, to food and nature. So thank you so much to all our guests that we've had. Thanks to you, our wonderful audience, and thank you to you, Nikki, and the amazing team behind the scenes at the Rotary Together Talks, of which none of this would be possible. We'd like to remind you that tonight's broadcast, along with all of season 1 and all of season 2, can be found on the Rotary and Great Britain and Ireland YouTube page, where we told you you can access earlier. And please do like, subscribe, and share all the videos. Watch the previous ones over again, even if you saw them once. I'm sure there's things that you missed. And we look forward to seeing you very soon for season 3.
Thank you, Luke. Great with co-hosting with you. So until then, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from me.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Hey, you did great.